The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, what a flip-flop. After adding $100 billion of new debt before the first case of COVID, $500 billion of debt before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, doubling the debt, adding more debt than all other prime ministers combined, now the Prime Minister's government is saying they're going to cut $9 billion and even bring in my pay-as-you-go law to find savings for every new dollar of spending. But wait. They now admit that deficits add fuel to the inflationary fire, but can we really trust the arsonist who lit the fire to put it out?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would obviously pose a question, which is during the pandemic, what would they cut? What supports would they not have offered to Canadians? In what way would they have not been there when Canadians needed them most? And the second question I would ask, Mr. Speaker, as we enter a time that is the most difficult probably that the globe has faced since the Second World War, that demands responsible leadership. Amplifying anxiety is easy, Mr. Speaker. Solutions are hard. Are they going to support dental care for those that need it, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What would we have cut? We would have cut the $54 million Arrive Can Act. We would have cut the $500 million for the We organization. We said they should never have given wage subsidies to wealthy corporations that were capable of paying out bonuses and dividends to their executives. That's an easy question to answer. In fact, $200 billion of the $500 billion in new debt in the last 2 years had nothing to do with COVID at all, and inflation was already spiraling out of control well before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So they should stop blaming everyone else and tell us how they're going to reverse the inflation that they caused.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is stating that inflation is a problem that is only faced by Canadians. He is presuming that Canadians are not watching what's happening in the rest of the world. And I wonder, Mr. Speaker, right now that he has an opportunity, and they reversed the decision that they made on C-30 to provide support for Canadians. They have another opportunity to reverse their position, to make sure that low-income renters have an opportunity to get the money they need in these difficult global times. They have an opportunity to make sure that those that need dental care get it. Will they reverse their position and support us in these measures?
The Honourable Opposition. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It is true that dumb governments that ran massive deficits all around the world and printed money to pay for it all have inflation problems. Countries like Switzerland that had low or no deficits have low or no inflation. This was a choice. This government decided to spend $500 billion inflating the cost of living. More dollars chasing fewer goods leads always to higher prices, and now we have 40-year highs in inflation. But how can we trust the very few people who caused this problem to fix it?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, around the world we're dealing with unprecedented times. Climate change, a war that has happened in Ukraine. We're dealing with global inflation, and that demands maturity and serious answers. And I would say, Mr. Speaker, to the member opposite, that in this time we have an opportunity not to amplify anxiety, not to make people more scared, but to provide them real solutions. It's bad enough that they're not willing to support dental care. I'm just asking, as the House Leader, as somebody who's attempting to get that legislation and support for Canadians, will they at least stop opposing it so that the parties that do support it can get it done?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
So now he blames the war in Ukraine for inflation when less than 0.3% of Canada's trade is with Russia and Ukraine combined. Furthermore, the very things that the Russians and the Ukrainians produce, oil and agriculture, are abundant here at home if only the government would get out of the way and let our farmers and energy workers produce it. If we can't do that, we've got bigger problems still. It's time for them to actually take responsibility. $500 billion of inflationary deficits have made life more expensive and have been bone-crushing for our consumers. When will they reverse these inflationary policies?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
So, Mr. Speaker, didn't support childcare for those that needed it, to help cut it in half immediately and make sure that it goes to $10 a day. Mr. Speaker, they didn't support raising taxes on those who are earning the most so that we could give a break to those in the middle class. And now here we are again, Mr. Speaker, with dental care, where there's many families who are struggling because of the challenges that are happening across this globe, and they're not supporting that, Mr. Speaker. And I understand they're not supporting that. That's their partisan position. But will they at least get out of the way so that those of us that are trying to help Canadians right now can pass legislation?